This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the one, the only, Brandon Swanson.
Hey.
What a game last night, huh?
Yeah, it was
a game. Like,
it
we're
was
recording
not
this on Tuesday.
not very close.
Well, I was mad about that. That's you couldn't hear the sarcasm in my voice, where it was like, what a game last night. What a game, because it wasn't a game in the second half. Villanova just pulled away.
It actually wasn't a game after Michigan had the lead 21-14. It was no longer a game after that.
Yeah.
Once it was that score, that was it.
Yeah, and I mean, we're recording this on Tuesday, just after the national title game where Villanova won. We're going to be talking about this in depth. We're going to have a whole segment next week about this. Whole reason why is today's our big board. We're doing our big board for the NFL draft, so it kind of pushes the college basketball reaction, but I just wanted to give the thoughts at the beginning that it wasn't really like, it was one of those where Dave and I were watching the game. First half, we're like really into it, and then the second half, I can't. Like, if you asked me what happened in the second half, my answer would just be DiVincenzo, because I didn't really watch.
That's all you needed.
I didn't really watch in the second half.
It's actually true.
It was on the TV. I just was so bored with the outcome of it. It was nowhere near that North Carolina-Villanova thriller that both you and I watched at my house about 2 years ago when Villanova won it the first time for this second in 3 years.
Well, I mean, it wasn't
cycle.
even like the game last year.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, it wasn't even like the game last year. It was at least competitive throughout last year with North Carolina winning at the end. But this game, I mean, Villanova showed clearly why they were the best team. Really, I think, in all of basketball and college basketball in terms of scoring, and they showed why they were the best team in the tournament. I mean, they won every game by at least 12 points. So it was another impressive showing by them for Jay Wright and his squad, and Villanova has really, I think, positioned themselves as one of the best teams in all of college basketball.
And the one thing I almost forgot to mention was the winner of our bracket tournament for MVP goes out to Logan. Logan won the whole thing. He had, 1130 were the amount of points he had. Do you know what place you came in?
Yeah, fifth.
You were tied for fifth.
I think I beat everyone at MVP.
Okay, here was the thing.
Because I am the best analyst at college
I knew
basketball.
This was going to happen.
When it comes to something like that, I think I won it last year. And now I come in tied for fifth. We'll just assume I win the tiebreaker, so fifth. And, sure. It's hard being the smartest guy in the room.
Well, what helped you was you had a strong first round.
Yeah.
And then just coasted.
That's all I had.
Whereas I finished only 2 behind you. I finished only 40 points behind you.
But still behind me.
That's why I really wanted Michigan to win, because if Michigan would have won, I would have jumped up to third. But I told Dave, I'm like, I'll beat Brandon and I'll be the top of MVP, and he won't be able to brag about it because I know he's going to brag about it when we go and record tomorrow, even though his champion Michigan State got knocked out well before the Final Four.
Well before that. However, I think I picked it the same in both brackets that I did, the other one being for some monetary value. I did pick a Michigan State-Michigan championship, where I did have Michigan losing, but not the way that they lost last night.
Yeah. Well, Logan, congratulations.
Yeah, way to go,
winning
Logan.
our
way to
bracket
go.
tournament.
I don't know what you get, but good for you.
Email mostvaluablepodcasts@gmail.com with proof of
proof of insurance with your last 4 of your social. That's how we'll be able to verify it.
We don't need that. Just screenshot your thing, your app or whatever they call it nowadays.
Don't just do anything. Let's be specific about it.
Yeah, we don't want some pictures. We just want a picture of your app showing that you are the right person of the bracket pool. But if you guys haven't noticed, this is the Primetime Podcast here on Most Valuable Podcast.
Is that what this is?
Your one-stop shop for college football, college basketball on MVP. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into, like I said, it's our NFL big board this week. Before we get into it, housekeeping. Number one, you want to help support us. Make sure we can continue doing what we're doing. You want to join a podcast. You want to get the exclusive Patreon podcast that we do each and every month. Make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Also, if you want to get yourself an MVP t-shirt, that store link is down below in the description. Mostvaluablepodcast.com. That's where we put everything for MVP each and every day. And then last but not least, go ahead and give the Primetime Podcast a 5-star rating on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. But Brandon, we're going into our big board.
And while you were saying that, when you said get yourself, you almost went into your Boston accent.
I almost did. Well,
you want to get yourself one of these fine T-shirts over here.
Because I skipped a couple words, and they all ran together. And I was
car. Get in the car.
Park your car and have it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying there, Sean? You know what I'm saying there? But we're doing our big board. We're starting off 25 through 16. Brandon, we always start with you. Give us your big board starting, I forget, do we start at...
We start at the bottom. We start at 25 and go up.
But you give 16 through 20 and then...
16 through 25.
Yeah, and then you start at 16, though. I'm correct with that?
No, I go at 25 and I go up to 16.
Start at 25.
You're actually wrong on everything you just said.
Start at 25, then bring us on up to 16.
At 25, I've got Marcus Davenport, defensive end, University of Texas, San Antonio. At 24, I've got the offensive tackle from Texas, Connor Williams. At 23, Cortland Sutton, wide receiver from SMU. At 22, I've got Rashad Penny, running back from San Diego State. At 21, I've got Josh Jackson, the outstanding cornerback from Iowa. At 20, I've got Calvin Ridley, the wide receiver from Alabama. At 19, friend of the show, Mo Hurst, defensive lineman, Michigan. At 18, I've got Christian Kirk, wide receiver, Texas A&M. At 17, Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle from Notre Dame. And at 16, I've got another running back from LSU, Darius Geis, or as Mark Dub them E's, Weber calls him, Darius Juice.
Yeah, Darius Juice. We even got a comment about that where Mark knows it's Darius Geis. I corrected him. He just likes calling him Darius Juice because it looks like juice.
I'm not going to lie. You could say it like that. You could. And get away with it. And people wouldn't think that you're like crazy.
It's just the silent U. But you know what I noticed before we go into mine? You know what we noticed we didn't do before the podcast?
What?
We did not go over names for the new appearances on Ricky's Big Board. So there's bound to be a name that I screw up. We're going to start at the bottom, though, number 25, Jair, right? Jair? Jaier, Jair Alexander, cornerback from Louisville. Then Alan Lazard, the wide receiver from Iowa State and the Cyclones. Mike McGlinchey, the offensive tackle from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Then Calvin Ridley at 22, wide receiver from Roll Tide. 21, Colton Miller, the offensive tackle from UCLA. Number 20, Leighton Vander Esch, Mark's favorite name to say in this draft, linebacker from Boise State. Number 19, Daron bringing the pain, defensive tackle from that same Roll Tide team. Cortland Sutton, the wide receiver from SMU and the Mustangs. Number 17, Rashaan Evans, inside linebacker from yet again Alabama, Roll Tide. And then number 16, Lamar Miller, the quarterback.
It's not Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller is a washed-up running back for Houston.
Jackson's what I meant to say.
Yes.
Well, you know what it is? It's whenever I say Lamar, like Lamar, it usually comes after Miller.
Lamar Miller.
Usually because we're playing our really crappy Houston Texans Madden franchise, and I want to trade Lamar Miller. That's usually why that comes out of my mouth whenever we play Madden. But that's actually the first person I want to start with. Not Lamar Miller, Lamar Jackson, quarterback from Louisville, because I have him at 16. You don't have him on your big board at all. Just did his pro day last week. You can check Sean and I last week on the Onside Kick talked about what are the best fits for him. But we also mentioned that last Thursday was his pro day. Well, now it's after that. Did very well. Also showed that he can not just throw from the shotgun. He went under center and looked really good at his pro day. Another thing he didn't do, he didn't run the 40 because he's not a wide receiver. What are your thoughts on Lamar Jackson as we enter the final month of the NFL draft prep time, as we are now, what, would we be 23 days away as we're recording this on the 3rd?
Lamar Jackson is a really good quarterback. He's a really good talent, and he has continued to show that he's got a lot of skills. I just don't think that he's going to be a round one I think that he's going to be a high day 2.
Well, the thing that I'll ask you, and I know this is dipping a little into the onside kick, Patriots did make a trade today. They did make a trade for the 23rd overall selection, and our own Sean Miller, he's like, I want Lamar. I want Lamar in that first round, whether it's at
our own Sean Miller.
Our own Sean Anderson. I just want to throw Miller at the end of everything, but our own Sean Anderson wants Lamar Jackson either at 23 or 31 for the Patriots. Either one of those picks, he wants Lamar Jackson.
To be honest with you, I have said for a while, way back actually, that Lamar Jackson could be a fit for the New England Patriots, and have asked the question, would they take a quote-unquote chance on Lamar Jackson, because that's the way I feel like people have kind of portrayed it. Like, oh, if you take Lamar Jackson, you're really taking a chance. Well, you're taking a chance on any player you take in any draft. Let's be honest about it. I've said that for a long time, too. It's one of those things with Lamar Jackson, though, is where is going to be his best fit. We've talked about that numerous times. For him to, I think, have immediate success, he's going to have to go into a system with a really, really good head coach, a head coach that's willing to work with him and to adjust to and adapt to the things that he's going to bring to a team.
And not want to make him a wide receiver.
Well, exactly, because I think that, that is disrespectful to have a guy come in and for someone to go, you're going to be a wide receiver. Well, you haven't even seen me be a quarterback yet.
Yeah.
So I think that if you went to the Patriots, that's a perfect fit, because you have a guy like Bill Belichick that, even though he's been working with for the last, 18 years with Tom Brady, a guy who is all about pocket quarterback, not going to run, and then you'd be going from that to a guy who can be a pocket quarterback, can go under center, and who can run. He has got wheels. That would be something completely different, but it would add a new dimension to now it's going to be looking a little bit differently offensively for the New England Patriots. They just traded away, actually, before we came on and recorded, found out that they traded away Brandon Cooks to get the 23rd pick in this draft.
Well, and when it comes to Lamar Jackson, the way I look at it is, to me, he is clearly there. In my mind, he is clearly a top 5 quarterback in this class, and you could even make a case, to me, that he's a top 4 quarterback in this class. Because to me, you look at, I'll spoil it right now, at number 14, when we get to the next section of our big board, I got Josh Rosen. And the reason why I have these two so close is we're going to get into this later on with Josh Rosen, but for me, that one question that Lamar Jackson doesn't have, that Josh Rosen has, is his focus for football. Everything that came out with Jim Mora, with Josh Rosen, you got all those questions. Like I said, we'll get to that later. But you don't get that with Lamar Jackson. He's a guy that is all on football. He has the talent to succeed. And I feel like the way it's going to go is Lamar Jackson will be that guy that somebody will get at the end of the first round, whether it's middle to the end of the first round, whether it's a Arizona, whether a Los Angeles is ballsy and takes a quarterback. I don't think they will, but they could, because Phillip Rivers isn't going to be there forever. Or a team late in the first, like a New England, like a New Orleans, like a Jacksonville, Pittsburgh could even go ahead and take Lamar. Somebody from 15 down is going to take him and is going to get a special treat at the quarterback position.
Let me ask a question. We saw a bit of a surprise last year when the Bears traded a lot to get Mitch Trubisky, to move up to get Mitch Trubisky at 2.
Yeah.
Now, this would be a different, in a sense, but because every situation obviously is different, but could we see a team in the top 5, in the top 10, completely surprise us? And if they're going to go quarterback, they go with Lamar Jackson, because they feel like he could be a different at a different dimension than any of the other quarterbacks can. And I was going to say, I know that a lot of people talk about, the Darnolds, the Rosens, Rosen as being the best overall pro-ready quarterback. But could someone look at Lamar Jackson and say, hey, we want our organization to go in a different direction. We need a spark. He can do it.
He can. And the reason why
you think the Jets.
I say the Jets because how I'm thinking NFL draft right now, and this could be a spoiler from my mock draft, but I don't care. Rumors are the Browns love Josh Allen. Rumors are the Giants love Sam Darnold. So for me, without a trade, barring anything there, because I'm on the hype train of Browns get a deal done where you swap the first and the second, you give your first next year. It's basically you give 2 firsts this year and next year, and you get Odell Beckham and the second overall pick. That's the train I'm on. That's the hype train I'm on to get Odell to Cleveland. Get Odell to Cleveland, give the Giants their 2 firsts, and you just basically are swapping picks.
If that were to happen,
year.
I think Kirk Cousins would say, Minnesota, thank you for the money. I'm going to give it back. Cleveland, what were you offering again?
Yeah. I'm on that train, but I don't think it's going to happen. So if they stay where they're at, Browns go with the guy they like, Giants go with the guy they like, then it's the Jets. And like I said that, you can maybe put Lamar over Josh Rosen. Arguably, you can put him ahead of Baker Mayfield, too. Like, Baker Mayfield isn't locked in at 3 or 4.
None of these guys, Ricky, are locked in at anything. They're not locked in at anything. It's all a prediction. It's all a thought. I really don't think, quarterback-wise.
Yeah, I would say Allen and Darnold are at the top 1, 2, though. I would say that they're arguably 1, 2.
Yes, but you could make an argument that none of these guys are locked in at any spot.
True.
You could make that argument. Because it's all dependent on what a team thinks. It's all dependent on what a scout thinks. And don't tell me for 1 minute that there aren't some scouts out there who are seeing something that other scouts aren't, and that there's teams out there and general managers and owners that are willing to take a risk on somebody because they just are ready for something different. I mean, look at just kind of how some things can be. People take chances all the time, whether it's in sports, whether it's in daily life. You take a chance on doing something or somebody because you need something different. You want something different. Lamar Jackson, he's not different, but he offers that different, that interesting dimension of, he's like your Russell Wilson. He's a guy who's not just a good passer, but he's just an overall great athlete. And whereas, yes, is Josh Allen also a great athlete? He is, but he's not going to be that guy who's going to run all over the field and outrun defenders to get to the end zone for a touchdown. So that's where I'm coming from. And I know that may sound a little crazy, and I'm okay with that, but I think it's one of those things where you just don't know. Is it extremely realistic? Maybe not, but could it happen? Sure.
You've got the player comps of, I hate doing this because the guy that they compare Lamar Jackson to was probably one of the best mobile, passing mobile quarterbacks that we've seen in Michael Vick.
Yeah.
Like Lamar Jackson, your athleticism, you're getting Michael Vick. Josh Allen, you're getting Big Ben, where Big Ben's not going to go out there and light you up with his legs, but he'll run out there and extend the play with his legs to then throw it. Like, that's the difference in their athleticism.
Because you can't bring him down.
Exactly. And, I mean, Josh Allen, watching him play, has reminded me of Big Ben a lot. But, yeah, Lamar Jackson was just who I wanted to open up with just because of what he did at his pro day. He's really polarizing to me. Could go, I think, as high as 15 to the Cardinals and could go anywhere from end of the first round, even second round, like you said. Another thing I wanted to get into was the running backs, because I have no running backs on my big board except for Saquon Barkley, who is in the top 5. No surprise there. However, you have Darius Geis, you have Rashad Penny. These are 2 guys that I don't have. I mean, I'm compiling my full 7-round mock draft that I will be releasing on either the 17th or the 18th of this month. And I've got Darius Geis as an early 2nd-round pick. And right now I've got Rashad Penny as a late 2nd-round pick. What made you put these guys basically in the lower half of your first round of the NFL draft?
Well, with Rashad Penny, that's who I'll start off first with because he was the lower of the 2. So Rashad Penny, he earned AP first-team All-American honors as everyone else was sleeping, literally sleeping. He was one of the best players in college football. I mean, he truly was. For San Diego State, for a team, again, that doesn't and didn't get a whole lot of attention outside of what he was doing. I mean, breaking records in so many different categories. He has had a positive draft performance. This is a guy who's probably a 2nd-round pick, who really should be higher than that because of his talent, because of what he's able to do on the field, because of the dimensions that he brings as a running back with his speed, with his hands, with his playmaking ability. This guy is good, and he knows how to make plays happen. And now, is he as dynamic as a Saquon Barkley? No, he's not. But is he a lesser version of what Saquon is? I would say yes, he is. And I think that's why
Saquon's all around.
I mean, he is. He's all around. He can do so much for you in so many different areas. It's unreal.
He didn't even have to work out at his pro day, and everyone's like, yeah, whatever. He didn't have to do anything. Like, anyone else sits out their pro day, what the hell is this guy thinking? Saquon does it. Yeah, whatever, he's Saquon. It's going to go here overall. It's like people know what they're going to get, and Saquon's got nothing to prove at this point. That's how good he is.
Exactly. And I just think that Rashad Penny, he's really one that, I mean, when we brought him up this season, and I think that, gosh, he was maybe brought into the conversation of Heisman. I think at one point, he was in the conversation of Heisman, of, could it go to him? And I had said no. Because he wasn't getting the coverage. He was not getting the coverage. He did not get the coverage because he's playing on the West Coast. He's not going to be seen by most of America, because he's on San Diego State.
Yeah.
Was on San Diego State, whereas all these other teams, all these other players are getting the stage, prime time in front of all these millions of Americans that are watching. And now, is that fair? No, it's not. But is it reality? Sure. But Rashad Penny is really a great talent and a guy who I think a team could take a flyer on in the first round that really needs a running back, and teams always need running backs. And then when you look at and talk about Darius Geis, you talk about a guy with strength and agility in the running game. You're looking at another Leonard Fournette. I think you're looking almost exactly at Leonard Fournette, because when Geis took over for Fournette, when Fournette was injured, this was the first time when he took over at LSU. I couldn't tell the difference. I could not tell the difference. I thought it was Leonard Fournette out there.
This was when Fournette got injured and then came back.
And Geis came in and got on the stage.
Yeah.
Because
it was like, this team's going to be fine.
Yeah, and because he was doing the same things. He was doing the same things that Leonard Fournette did. He had the same moves. He had the same playmaking ability. With Darius Geis, I think you are looking at another version of Leonard Fournette.
Well, and the thing that I find interesting, and this is a big difference between big board and mock draft, is the big board, although I don't have them as my top 25 players, I could see someone like yourself that puts them in there and go, all right, I can see why you do that, because just looking at the order of the draft, basically from 20 on, there are teams that could take a running back. Might not be their number one overall need, but could take a running back. Does Detroit at 20
they need one.
Surprise us?
Need one.
Like, how often have they been running back by committee, and guess what? Hasn't worked.
With an awful committee.
Zenner. I like Zenner. Zach Zenner's my bro, but guess what? He's not your number one running back. How many times did Theo Riddick screw you over? Was it Theo Riddick that screwed you over in fantasy?
No,
or was it Abdullah?
It was Abdullah.
Amir Abdullah. Like, Amir Abdullah was good.
Well, you're getting screwed in fantasy when you have to rely on Amir Abdullah.
Yeah. Like, I'm going back, I'm dating myself, when they had Javid Best, the injury machine couldn't be on the field.
Reggie
Bush, too. But, I mean, the Lions are one. Then you go, I could see Pittsburgh. What if Pittsburgh likes one of these guys late in the first, and they go ahead and take that with the whole Le'Veon thing that's going on? You've got Philly, where Philly basically at 32 is like, fuck it, we're in the second round. We are basically almost the second round. We're the first round, but we're so close to the second to where we're basically the second round.
Philly is one. That's the one where I think I might disagree that they would need a running back, because they've got. I mean, they no longer have LeGarrette Blount.
Well, not as their main guy.
No, but they have. What's this? Ajayi, and then they have Clement.
Didn't they have LeGarrette?
LeGarrette, I think, is gone.
Yeah,
LeGarrette's gone, so they have Clement. Behind him.
That's right,
and I feel like they have like a slew, at least of one or two more. I feel like that they're
here.
set in terms of their running backs. I don't think that they'd go running back, especially not as their first
You're
pick.
right, because on the depth chart right now, Jay Ajayi, Wendell Smallwood.
Yeah, Smallwood's another one. Yeah.
Corey Clement, and then who they picked up last year in the draft, Donald Pumphrey, who was the all-time leading rusher last year, I believe. He was from, don't quote me, I think it's Navy, but don't quote me.
I won't.
No, he wasn't. That was Connor. Don't quote me. I think he was from San Diego State also, but don't quote me on that one
Still
either.
not quoting you.
But another team like New England, they could take a running back, but I don't think they do it in the first round. Now they got 2 picks. They can do anything they want there. But like that's even like going into the last thing that we were going to touch in this first segment of the podcast is even the offensive line and like offensive tackles, because in this range, I'm looking, we both have 2 each. We both have Mike McGlinchey.
Mike McGlinchey.
And I used to be saying Mike McGlinchey. He never corrected me until the 3.0.
Thought you'd learn on your own.
About half of these big boards I've been saying his name wrong. But then we each have someone different, where you have a Connor Williams. I have a Colton Miller from UCLA. The thing that I am thinking now about these offensive tackles and offensive guards is it's like Quentin Nelson's at the top. He's your top 5, top 10 guy. And then it's like, all right, there's nothing until the end, where it's like before we go all the way back to our 1.0 big boards where I had Mike McGlinchey at the... I'm going to say his name wrong. Right? Just correct me. I had him at 14. You had an Orlando Brown at 14. We had guys like Okafor from Western Michigan. Connor Williams was in that top 4. We had several guys. Now it's like, here's Quentin Nelson at the top. All right, and then maybe 1 or 2 at the end of our top 25, getting into our last big board here with the 4.0.
Yeah, and to kind of go right off of that, so at 24, I've got Connor Williams. He's from Texas. Over 3 seasons, he allowed 1 sack. He allowed 1 sack. That's incredible. Health has been a question. He's dealt with an injury. If he had not had that injury, we're looking at a really high pick, I think, in Connor Williams. He could start at tackle or guard in the NFL, so I think that part right there is really big as well. Being versatile is important. I can't get over the fact that he allowed 1 sack over 3 seasons. Just how good that is. And I understand that that's college, and the NFL is a new beast and a new monster and a new day. But that's impressive. That cannot go unnoticed. And then for Mike McGlinchey, you talk about another guy that's versatile. Started double-digit games at left tackle and right tackle. So, again, can work both sides and is good at it. And excels in the run game. I mean, if I were the New York Giants, I would trade as much as I could to try and get all of these guys, because you need them all. Because your offensive line sucks ass so bad. If you're the New York Giants, I would say screw the quarterback. I'm going with an offensive lineman, and Quentin Nelson would probably be their pick there. And I know that that's not the popular pick because everyone thinks and believes they'll go quarterback. But these offensive linemen, these offensive tackles, offensive guards, they are good. And I know that you're saying about some different guys that we had in there. You know, there's Quentin Nelson and there's kind of everybody else, but we can't just say it's like, whatever. They're good. I mean, there's very good talent. Like I said, with Connor Williams, I think you take away his injury and the questions around there.
Oh, he's flying.
He's flying top 10.
Yeah, the big thing is that injury that he had.
And you know, Mike McGlinchey, I have him at 17, and you have him at 23.
Yep.
You know, he could easily probably be in top 15. So you look at these guys and this talent, and they're good. I mean, you really do have a pretty strong, solid pool of offensive linemen here to be able to choose from.
Well, and that's why, Connor Williams, I'll be honest, this is unofficial because all this could change now that the Patriots made that trade today for the 23rd overall pick. But in my 4 rounds into my 7-round mock draft that I'm coming up with, my first draft has Connor Williams at 32, first pick of the second round to the Browns. So it's like basically you're 1A, basically, with that first pick outside. But like, same thing with me with Colton Miller, where it's like the reason why I have him in is because he's a guy that you can played the left side in college, but can switch over to the right side as a pro. And he's a guy that the best thing I love about him is that with his technique, he can chase edge rushers to the corner to where it's like, you got a guy coming off, it's all right, I'm going to set that edge, and I'm not going to let that guy get through, because what's the one thing we heard analysts say every single football game last year? It was the term of the century. Set the edge. Oh, are they setting the edge? Are they setting the edge? You got to set the edge, Brandon. Heard it every single NFL game last year.
Well, I think it's really important that these offensive linemen, that when they're coming in, that they've got the speed to be able to not just set the edge, but get to the edge quickly and not let their guys, because, I mean, we're seeing more and more defensive guys and linemen right there be quick.
Yes.
Be really quick. They're not just big anymore and slow. They're fast. They're fast, and if you have poor,
I don't want to say lean, but it's like you're built, but you got to be able to move.
But also, too, we're starting to see some that are smaller, but they're quick, so it doesn't matter. They're getting around the fat boys. You know, so it is going in a different direction. So you've got to have speed, you've got to have great footwork, and you've got to have the technique. The technique has got to be good, because if you have poor technique, it's going to lead to everything else not being good. So that's very important.
Well, before I move on, you guys let us know what you guys think about our 16 through 25 in the comment section.